This Soonerscoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. From the big plays to life's everyday moments, see it all in sharp focus with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIK.
No, they're looking forward to getting back here in front of our fans. Our fans have been absolutely fantastic all year long and don't expect anything less than that this week. Got a really good Missouri team that's coming in that has played really well this year.
Welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, George Stoy here from the Soonerscoop.com studios. It is a game day preview, Thursday, November 20th, and a big one coming up in Norman on Saturday, OU, Missouri, 11 a.m. George, how are we?
Great. Ready for another massive game here in Norman, and for Oklahoma, everything's in front of them. We've talked about it all week. They got 2 games to get into the playoff, and it starts this week with Missouri.
8 quarters away from punching your ticket. Obviously, Oklahoma finds out where they were in the college football playoff rankings, number 8 going into the weekend, and Missouri jumping into the top 25, right? So that's another possibility to add another top 25 win to the ledger. Certainly, though, I think that, there has been a lot of talk. We talked about it on the Unofficial 40 this week. We've talked about it on the William and Lauren practice reports. It seems like everything is perfect right now for Oklahoma, but how quickly that can change, especially in this league where you have a Missouri team, albeit possibly without starting quarterback Bo Pribula, who's missed out on the last couple of weeks with an ankle injury. This is a serious football team. This is a team that has had some success here this season.
Yeah, I mean, you look at them statistically on offense and defense, they're very good. They're one of the best teams in the country at running the football. And then on defense, I think they're, top 10 in a lot of different metrics. One of the best defenses in the SEC this year. So they've been able to do a lot of really good stuff. A talented roster. Yes, they will be without maybe Pribula. We'll see if he can play or not. Even if he does play, I think Oklahoma's got a tremendous challenge with their offense, and then on the other side, their defensive front is one of the best Oklahoma has seen this season.
On Wednesday night, Oklahoma fans as well as Missouri fans, as well as the rest of the league, got a good idea on the initial availability report, and dare I say, it was surprisingly good news. We had spoken all week about the availability at the running back position. Was Xavier Robinson going to be on it? Was Torrey Blaylock going to be on it? All things considered, Oklahoma in pretty good shape. Was it the best availability report that Oklahoma had received since joining the SEC?
I would say so. Only 3 guys on there, R. Mason Thomas, Javante Barnes, Gentry Williams, and we'll see on all 3 of those guys. Sure. I kind of tend to think they're not going to play. But to not see Xavier Robinson, to not see Torrey Blaylock, 2 guys that we talked about in previous practice reports, would they be able to go?
Sure.
They're both banged up, and they're going to be able to play. Now, I don't think they're going to be 100%, but, certainly you feel good that at least they'll be able to be out there and play in some fashion. The other one to note, Eddie, Taylor Tatum, not on there. And he's typically on the Wednesday report as questionable. At least he has been the last 2 games. Not even on there. So he's available, which I don't think you're gonna just suddenly throw Taylor Tatum into the fire in the 11th game of the season here. But to have another capable running back at least available,
sure,
that's certainly a positive. Keontae Lewis not on there, Jaden Jackson not on there, Derek Simmons, Logan Howland, none of those guys. So this is probably the healthiest this team has been all season.
You mentioned it. No Jaden Jackson, which is good news for Oklahoma on the front 7 particularly. Talked to Brent Venables on Tuesday, talked to Kobie McKinzie on Monday night. Slowing down Missouri offensively, certainly going to be important. Oklahoma's played extremely well against the run this season. Maybe the toughest challenge yet, though, with Ahmad Hardy, who's been fantastic for Eli Drinkwitz.
Yeah, arguably the best running back in the country, and certainly the best that Oklahoma has faced this year. You think of Lacey at Ole Miss was really good, too, but Ahmad Hardy, you look at his stats, he's just been phenomenal. And, everything kind of runs through him offensively, no matter who's playing quarterback. So they're going to do a lot of different stuff to try and confuse Oklahoma, but then they're also just going to run right at him. And it's going to be up to Oklahoma. Can you tackle the guy? And you like Oklahoma's odds because their front 7, I think, is arguably the best in the country. They've been really good against the run this year, but they haven't faced a team quite like this in terms of what Missouri does offensively and obviously the talent of Ahmad Hardy. So it's on all 11 guys. Run to the football. You're not going to be able to just tackle this guy by yourself. So having multiple guys at the point of attack is going to be massive for OU.
You mentioned it, and certainly has been a point of discussion throughout the week going into this game on Saturday morning, is the fact that, and you'll hear from Brent Venables here shortly about it, 1,000 yards after contact for Ahmad Hardy.
Yep.
Certainly one of those guys that you're going to have to rally to the football to bring down.
Yeah, and Oklahoma's been good at tackling this year, but this is a guy that if one guy misses, he could go the distance. And so you have to be really on your P's and Q's in terms of tackling him, getting him to the ground, and then everybody kind of rallying, because he'll carry you for a few yards. But if you can stop him, especially at the line of scrimmage, then I like your chances. But once he gets to that second level, man, he can make anybody miss, and then he's gone. So you have to do a really good job of running to the football.
Coming off of what certainly I would expect is a career afternoon against Mississippi State, 30 carries for 300 yards. Brent Venables, Kobie McKinzie talked about the task at hand for Oklahoma defensively coming up this weekend.
They're number one in the SEC in defense. Ahmad Hardy leads the nation in rushing. He has almost 1,000 yards after contact, which is, I've never heard of such a stat. I don't know where Mike pulled that one out of, but man, that's a good one. Kevin Coleman is an excellent receiver that's also wearing number 3. They had a great receiver that wore number 3 last year. You all probably remember him, and they've replaced him with a guy that's number 4 in the SEC in receptions, and Josiah Trotter is their middle linebacker, who I coached his brother at Clemson. His dad's a Hall of Fame linebacker, played for the Philadelphia Eagles, is a dude at middle linebacker. Their defense is playing really, really well, has all year, all 3 levels. They're just excellent, well coached, strong, athletic, long. They can rush the passer. And so going to be a great challenge for us.
Yeah, I think it's easy to say that in the SEC, other than a few teams, every game in these next couple of weeks will be a playoff atmosphere. Missouri is a 7-3 team, like I said, that's been in every single game that they've been in. They lost to Alabama by 3 points, lost to Vanderbilt by a touchdown, and they lost their quarterback in that game. And I think for majority of that game, it was like 3-7 for a long time. Like it was crazy. So it's gonna be a really, really good atmosphere. They're gonna come play hard like they have been. But you got to take care of business.
Yeah, I mean, you got to win up front. I mean, if you're gonna. I think that's where it starts. They're doing a great job of knocking people off the line of scrimmage, both the inside and outside run game. They're all their gap schemes, and they do a nice job with all their presentations. But that's where it all kind of starts. And then you got to have great discipline in your run fits. And they got an excellent play action, and passing game off of that. They're not, naive. So again, if you got a great rush defense, then they're going to want to stay on schedule. So the quick throwing game, the screens, the boots, the shot plays, the trick plays, the flea flickers and reverses and all those kind of things to test your discipline. Very option principle concepts, except they throw the ball better than most option teams. So just all the things that that I just said that it's going to take: the physicality, the discipline, reading our keys correctly for running past, things of that nature.
It's going to be really exciting. They're a really good team. I don't know the kid's first name. I know his last name is Hardy. He's played really, really good, and they played a lot of really good defenses. And he's shown up. I think last year he ran for 1,300 yards. He's on pace to break that this year in the SEC. So he's a really good player. It's going to be really exciting. They really good O-line, really physical. They know how to run the ball. They know how to block people. So it's going to be really exciting. It's definitely going to be a challenge, none like that we've seen this year. So it's going to be really exciting.
Oklahoma certainly in this spot because of the way they played defensively, because of the way they played on special teams. George, you wrote about it on Thursday afternoon on SoonerScoop.com. Really good time to join for just $1 if you're out there and you haven't done so. But Oklahoma's playoff chances certainly depend on these next 2 games. But more specifically, it depends on how long the season is going to go with what Ben Arbuckle, what John Mateer are able to do with this offense.
Yeah, look, Brent Venables went out and hired Ben Arbuckle, paid John Mateer all this money to come here and fix this offense. And, they've improved it.
Sure.
You look at the numbers offensively this year. OU is
very bar low to improve from.
Yeah, this year Oklahoma ranked 64th and 89th in scoring offense and total offense. Last year, 97th and 113th. They're averaging about 4 points more per game and about 30 yards more per game. So some slight improvement. The biggest difference is they haven't turned the ball over.
Sure.
We've talked about that, but in SEC play last year, they turned the ball over 17 times and was, obviously a big part of why they lost some of the games they did, and specifically the Missouri game a year ago. This year, they've only turned the ball over 7 times in SEC play. So barring them turning over the ball 10 times in the next 2 games, that would be a big step in the right direction for OU. So
I'll unalive myself.
Yes,
if that's
would be
the
bad.
Case. 10 turnovers and 8
I wouldn't
quarters
blame
would not
you.
be good.
I wouldn't blame you, but I think the big thing for Oklahoma is they've really leaned into playing great defense,
Sure.
playing field position, kicking field goals, and Tate Sandell's been automatic. But I think at the end of the day, and Oklahoma knows this, they're going to have to score more points. They're going to have to be able to move the ball more efficiently if they want to win, not only in the playoff, but these next 2 games. I mean, on Saturday, Missouri's going to come in here and want to try and slow the game down, control the football. Oklahoma might have limited possessions. They've got to take advantage of that. They got to push the ball down the field. One other stat I'll give you, Eddie, is before John Mateer hurt his hand, they were averaging around 8 yards per attempt in the passing game. Since his injury, they're averaging 5.9 yards per attempt. That's 127th in the country, so not very good. 8 yards per attempt would have put them, I think, somewhere in the top 30. Last year at Washington State, they averaged Arbuckle and Mateer 9 yards per attempt, which was 6th in the country. So they like to push the ball down the field. They just haven't done it. I don't know if that's injury related. I don't know if that's, hey, we're going to be conservative, don't turn the ball over, since the Texas game when he threw 3 interceptions. I don't really know the reasoning for it, but they have to get back to that aggressive nature and try and put some more points on the board, because ultimately, if you can do that, you can get up a couple scores. Imagine how much better your defense can be then too.
We'll talk about it with Eli Hoff in our weekly Game Day Preview interview from the St. Louis Dispatch, but you would think that there is going to be opportunity, especially on the back end for Missouri defensively. Is this the time to kind of unleash it? I mean, I know that they have a lot to lose, but at the same time, you don't really have a whole lot to lose, just in terms of seeing if something's there, as some of these wide receivers who we talked about on the William and Lauren practice report this week. As ironic as it is talking about getting this offense going, it does feel like guys like a Jermichael Carter or a Giovanni Gibson or even a Keontez Lewis, who returned last week, albeit not playing a whole lot, I think just 1 snap in Tuscaloosa.
Yep.
Maybe you do get some of those guys to go downfield, and you talked about it, you wrote about it earlier this week, just in terms of you got this great defense. Have they become almost too conservative offensively?
Yeah, and I think to your point, Eddie, sometimes it's not even about completing some of those passes. It's about just daring the defense to guard them, right?
Sure.
Like if you just throw some go balls down the sideline, maybe Giovanni or Jermichael catches them. Maybe they draw a pass interference, or maybe they're just incomplete, but the defense in their head's like, hey, they're taking shots. Maybe that opens up the run game, and maybe that opens up some of the underneath passing game. All of those things, like that's the thing with this offense, is they're not even taking those shots right now. And I understand they don't want to put the ball at risk, but I think they're going to have to. I think they need to open up some of this, because right now they're not making defenses stay honest to them. And I think that could be a huge problem when you start to play some of these better teams, and especially a team like Missouri, who I think is very good defensively.
And most certainly, if you're able to get through these next 2 games, you're going to have some type of offense moving forward if you want to have any type of magical run here through the month of December and obviously into January. Ben Arbuckle talked about Missouri defensively this week. We're also going to hear from Jaron Kanak and John Mateer about an offense that they know needs to come on here over the next 8 quarters. Take a quick time out from the Game Day Preview to tell you about HoloSocks.com. Soft. So soft.
They're the best in the business.
Are they not? I've been wearing them. You need to be wearing them out there. All you got to do is go to HoloSocks.com. It is a new sponsor to the program. We've been telling you about them all week. And George, These things are magical.
They're awesome. I've been wearing them around the house. I'm going to be wearing them up in the mountains here in a few weeks. I know that we've got a lot of people out there hunting season.
Sure.
I'm sure they're wearing them, but you're going to wear them on game day.
Absolutely.
It's getting colder out, so this is perfect time.
Let me tell you a little bit more about HollowSocks.com. Alpaca socks built for the field. Performance-grade socks made from ultra-soft baby alpaca fibers, engineered for rugged conditions and designed to keep your feet dry, warm, and comfortable no matter where the day takes you. There's only socks that will keep your feet warm below freezing and then cooled off when it hits 80 degrees. Notice the reinforced structure of the heel and toe, perfect for boots, for hunting boots particularly. Lightweight, supportive, unbelievably soft, 3 times warmer than wool, and still lightweight. They keep your feet dry if you're hiking up a hill to get to your tree stand or stalking trophy bulls in the mountains or just shooting games like I am out on a college football Saturday. Made in the United States of America, over 2 million pairs sold. Once you wear Hollow, you'll never go back to wool or cotton socks ever again. For a limited time, Hollow Socks is giving a buy 2, get 2 free sale. Buy 2, get 2 free sale. Head to HollowSocks.com today to check it out. That's HollowSocks.com for up to 50% off your order. And after you purchase, they're going to ask you, hey, where'd you hear about us? Tell them the boys from Soonerscoop.com sent you. You're going to like HollowSocks.com.
Good
Thank
stocking
you to
stuff.
our my gosh. No,
Don't you love getting socks for Christmas and stuff?
I mean,
do. Like, it's the best.
Can I tell you? I used to hate it.
Yeah.
Now I love
that's all
it
I want.
because that literally is something that you use
Yes.
every day.
Yeah, socks and underwear.
Thank you to our good friends over at HollowSocks.com. We also want to tell you about our good friends over at Lucy. Lucy, 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco-free. Also have the Lucy Breakers if you're not into the pouches. These are nicotine pouches with an extra surprise. Each pouch holds a capsule that can be broken open to release extra flavor and hydration. Let me get these right here. Look. They're delivering Lucy straight to the doorstep. All you got to do is go to lucy.co/Soonerscoop. Use the promo code Soonerscoop. Get 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy. If you change your mind, plenty of options to choose from in terms of flavor, whether it be the wintergreen, the apple ice, the espresso, the cinnamon, the mint. Also have different milligram sizes, 4 milligram, 8 milligram, 12 milligram. They're a favorite. They're a staple of the Soonerscoop.com offices for Carrie and I. And we must tell you, Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Thank you to our good friends over at Lucy. Let's get back into the game day preview.
I think whenever you go into, really any game, but this game too, you want to have a really good balance of what you're doing, but ultimately you have to do what winning requires. And, they're a phenomenal defense. Defense coordinator does a great job. You can tell the cool thing is all 11 players always know exactly what they're doing and play so well together. They're extremely sound in what they do, and they're really physical in what they do, and they let you know that they're there. They have a great defensive front who, like you just said, teams have been struggling to run the football on them. It's credit to them, but we can't worry about them. We have to go out there and do what winning requires, and if that means throwing the ball a lot, okay, awesome. If that means, okay, we got to run the ball a lot to go win the game, awesome. All right, but we have to go out there. We have to be prepared not to worry about Missouri, but worry about Oklahoma and what it's going to take for us to go win.
A lot better. It's you take a look at what we've done throughout the year, and we've yet to put together what we would call a complete game. And there's no such thing as a perfect game. We understand that by all means, but we really feel like our best games are in front of us, our best plays are in front of us, and we come out to practice every single day like there's a lot. We got to cover a lot of ground. We'd be so much better than we are, and we've managed to get through the past few games and come up with a win. But at the end of the day, we know that we can be so much better than we have been, and we're going to go work towards that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, every game is different. You play to win the game, and like I said earlier, like the pick six, it's a whole drive where they just get the ball back and they run more plays, and then we had the punt return. So there's a lot of yards that our special teams and our defense got, and so they just had, they did a good job. Like they moved it. They obviously had the turnovers, but so it's every game is different, and we'll play each game.
What is the biggest key for you? Is it just simply John Mateer going into these final 2 games?
I really do, because I think that, whether it's him running the ball or passing the ball, like everything kind of goes through him right now. And you felt good about the run game coming out of the Tennessee game, but now with Xavier Robinson banged up, Torrey Blaylock doesn't look like he did earlier in the season. It's ultimately going to come down to, can John Mateer come up with some big plays, and whether that's with his arm or his legs, and it's him seeing the field, it's him taking some chances, it's him being smart with the football. And I know that all sounds contradicting, in terms of taking some chances, but also being careful with the football. Well, that's what the best quarterbacks do. And, if Oklahoma wants to be one of the best teams in the country, they have to have a really good quarterback. Sure. And if Mateer can get back to playing close to what he was early in the season, which I do think he's getting healthier. I think he's getting closer to that. If he can get to close to that kind of player, then I think Oklahoma's got a shot to beat maybe not everybody, but a lot of people.
Certainly put themselves into position to have that opportunity, right? Yeah. To have that opportunity to go play the Ohio State or the Indiana or whomever,
Georgia,
Texas A&M, Georgias of the world, some of the upper echelon teams right now in college football, certainly in the top 4, top 5 of the college football playoff rankings. Last but not least, before we get to Eli Hoff's interview, there was a discussion this week, and you'll hear from Brent Venables on this subject. Barry Tramble asked him, Oklahoma and Missouri, no strangers to one another, certainly with the Big 8 history, the Big 12 history, two fan bases that love to bicker online. And certainly because of some connections, whether it be Williams Winery, who they both battled for Missouri. One, he's on at Nebraska now. Caden Green, obviously, who played at Oklahoma and currently starting for Missouri on the offensive line. And even last year with somebody like a Theo Weiss, add in a little bit of fuel to the fire with Eli Drinkwitz. Is this a rivalry is kind of the question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so, but I think that obviously both sides maybe don't like each other. And I think that's fun for college football.
Sure.
But I think back to the days of, Gary Pinkel and Chase Daniels and some of those really good Missouri teams. Like I remember when they came, I think it was 2007, and they were ranked 1 or 2 in the country, and Oklahoma beat them here in Norman.
They were also number 1 when they played in the Big 12 championship in 2008, I believe, or that might have been 2007. It might have been 2007.
I know you bet either they were really good back in those days, and I think that there was kind of a back and forth there, but. I know you have some of the stats historically.
Well, I mean, from SEC numbers guy, he threw it out there. This may be not true, too. So, believe me, I'm just reading the tweets out here. Since 2016, Oklahoma has more 11-win seasons than Missouri has all time. They have more Heisman Trophy winners since 2016 than Missouri has all time. They have more conference championships since 2016 than Missouri has had since World War II. Certainly not a apples-to-apples comparison when you're talking about the two programs, but certainly, and the Missouri fans will be the first ones to make the comment in the comment section, Oklahoma hasn't reached the pinnacle that Missouri, I guess, has. Since they joined the SEC, obviously the quick success that they had under Gary Pinkel. It does make for fun banter, though, online.
Yeah, it does, and I think some of it too is recruiting based. I mean, you look at Oklahoma has a history of recruiting in Kansas City and St. Louis area, and so a lot of that. But
going all the way back to Jeremy Maclin with the two going head to head for him.
But I think overall it's I think the SEC and some people probably want it to be a rivalry, and it somewhat kind of will be, I guess, these next few years and however long that they're rivals. I think it'll probably be or not rivals, but permanent opponents. I think that they're going to be opponents for quite some time because of their history and obviously the geographic, how close they are. So I think it's good. It's good for college football. It's good for the fans. And I know OU fans desperately want this one this weekend.
Listen, as long as they don't poison our Buch's sliders when we go up to Columbia, I'll call it whatever they want me to call it. Here is Brent Venables. The question at hand, though, is Oklahoma and Missouri something of a rivalry here moving forward?
Well, I mean, they're going to be on our schedule every year for the foreseeable future. So, and all those other things to me, they mean nothing to me. They probably mean something to somebody else, but I don't get into all that. You don't hear me spouting back at whatever's out there. It doesn't. I just laugh at it. It's okay. You know what I mean? I don't mind it whether it's good or bad. It's at me or it's at us or it's at someone else. It's just not my style. I try to focus on what it takes to win and the things that matter the most and things that I can control. So if everybody wants to make that a rival, fine. If they don't, I'm fine too. So that may not endear myself to the story or to anybody else, but they're on the schedule. Laird Veach, their athletic director, was a linebacker mate of mine, in college, and got great respect for Eli and who he is as a coach. Certainly know him way before Missouri, and have faced off against him. He does a great job, and So, but I love the passion and the energy of people kind of drawing the line in the sand. That's cool. I don't mind that. And but my focus is on a really good football team that's getting ready to come in here this weekend. And they've done a really good job building a roster with good players, and they've done a good job as a staff putting them in position to be successful. So that's kind of where my focus is.
We'll have a little bit more on the back end with this, but there is like kind of an overwhelming theme here, whether it be with Brent Venables or Ben Arbuckle or any of the players that we talked to, which we talked to 8 of them on Monday night. You can catch all those interviews on the SoonerScoop.com editorial page. This is a really good Missouri team, and it's not like Oklahoma has all of a sudden punched their ticket into the college football playoff.
No, not at all. And I don't know what the line is at right now, but I think this is going to be a very close game again. You look across the SEC, it seems like every week, every game's a one-score game, and I think there's a chance this one is too. Eli Drinkwitz has fared well in one-score games throughout his career. He's been very good there at Missouri, but this is a game Oklahoma's going to have to play extremely well if they want to win.
Listen, I think we've been pretty consistent about this, that Eli Drinkwitz, he comes across as a little bit of a douche, a little bit of a dork, but at the same time, he's a really good football coach.
Very good.
And I think that's why, as you'll hear with Eli Hoff, when we throw it to his interview, there are other schools that are looking at Eli Drinkwitz. That means something. That means that he's doing something right. Before we throw it to our interview with the great Eli Hoff, who we've really enjoyed over the last couple of years catching up with on the Game Day Preview, let us tell you about our good friends over at Game Time, gametime.co. Got 2 home games left, plenty of tickets to be had. And I think they're games that you're going to want to be at, George.
Yeah, look, you can go sit with my parents in section 32 for about $132 right now. So that's a really good deal. I know my wife, she just bought tickets for the LSU game on Game Time a couple weeks ago, and she was talking about how much she enjoyed being able to see exactly the type of view that you're going to have at the game. So super easy app to use, and obviously we're big fans of Game Time.
Does the great Sam Stoya still make everybody take their T-shirts off in Section 32?
He does. He makes everybody, you have to be shirtless.
One of the great things about the Game Time app, you can use it to customize where your seat is going to be, where your spot's going to be inside the stadium, as you saw there with Carrie kind of navigating through the website. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account. Use the code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms always do apply. And again, create an account and redeem using the code ON3, as you see there on the screen in front of you, for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. All right, now for our interview with Eli Hoff from the St. Louis Dispatch, getting to know the Missouri Tigers a little bit more. Here it is. Now, welcome in Eli Hoff to get a little bit more knowledge on Eli Drinkwitz's club. That was an interesting game last year. It's still like just is mind-blowing from the Oklahoma side of things to be up 7 and then lose by 7 in regulation with 2 minutes that elapsed there in the final fourth quarter. But certainly excited for this one. I think Oklahoma fans obviously confident coming off of the wins in Knoxville and then Tuscaloosa. But there is this Missouri team that is really kind of interesting this year. Obviously off to a really good start. Had a couple setbacks. Obviously the Bo Pribula news. Is that something that we're just going to have to watch throughout the week? I know that Coach Drinkwitz talked on Tuesday. Where's everything at with the quarterback? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, it is going to be something that I'll be surprised if we have any clarity on the Mizzou quarterback situation until Saturday. Like it very well may be, not on that injury report 90 minutes before kickoff is when there's some clarity. Bo Pribula is getting closer to a return. We saw him on the field before Mizzou's last game go through a pretty complete workout. He looked pretty smooth there. Saw him walking around the team facility in slides, which to me, if you have an ankle injury and you're walking around in slides, that means it's coming around pretty well. But Drink did say on Tuesday that he does anticipate it being Matt Zollers. It's just something where if Bo's good to go, he'll slot right back in as the starter, but it's not seeming like that timeline will be possible. Nobody's ruled him out yet, though.
Just go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Eli, no matter who's playing quarterback, obviously Ahmad Hardy is going to be a key part of whatever Missouri does, and obviously what Oklahoma tries to stop. What has made him so good for Missouri this year?
Yeah, it's been a few things. I think one, He's the type of running back who can run in multiple styles. So he can do the lower his shoulder and break tackles. He can do the make a miss route, and he can do both on one play and has done that. A little more schematically, he's really familiar with the outside zone. That's almost exclusively what he ran down at ULM, and then that's been a staple of the Mizzou offense as long as Eli Drinkwitz has been in Columbia. So there's a lot of familiarity there. I think it's also helped that the Mizzou offensive line has gotten a little more stable as the season's gone on. There was a late shuffling in fall camp that threw it off a little bit. Caden Green missed a couple games in there, so that threw it off as well. Now, of course, it hasn't been great against really good defensive fronts, and some of that has been Mizzou getting away from the run. But overall, when the ball's in Ahmad Hardy's hands, any given play could be explosive with him.
I know that on Tuesday, Brent Venables had talked about the 1,000 yards after contact this season.
Crazy.
In terms of skill position, I know they had to replace a lot from last year. What have those outlets been like for Pribula or Zollers, whoever's playing quarterback? Just wide receiver talk. What's that been like for Missouri this season?
Yeah, it's been very different than last year when it was Theo Weiss and Luther Burden, and you just felt really, really confident in those two. The two outside receivers who started the year as the guys, Marquise Johnson and Josh Manning, have actually weirdly been replaced in these last couple of weeks by Donovan Alubade, who's a true freshman. He wears number 1 there. This kid's fantastic for a true freshman receiver. He's got contested catch ability. He's got hands that are just beyond what you'd expect from a kid who's in his first season. So he's actually taken over as the primary outside guy. It also helps. He and Zollers both came in as early enrollees in January, so they've got a lot of familiarity with each other and a connection there. And then Kevin Coleman in the slot, who's the transfer. He was at Mississippi State last year, had been at Louisville the year prior. He's been a great option there. Brett Norfleet, the primary tight end, was around last year as well and played in the game last year. He dislocated his shoulder against Vandy a few weeks ago, so he's back playing. Doesn't seem 100%, maybe a little contact averse there. So that's the mix at the receiver positions.
Real quick, if it is Matt Zollers that gets the start, obviously tough situation. Oklahoma fans well aware of a freshman being thrown into the mix. What are kind of his strengths, and just in terms of not necessarily weaknesses, because he is just a true freshman, what have you seen that Oklahoma may be able to attack if it is Matt Zollers that gets the start on Saturday?
Yeah, I think the bottom line is he's a true freshman and looks like it sometimes, right? So you're just going to see that with some of the missed reads, some of the pre-snap stuff, some of the jitters, just the decision making. Like that's evident, and like you said, you can't really hold it against him. He is who he is. His arm strength is phenomenal. He actually unlocks downfield throws a little bit more than Pribula does, which has been weird to see. Now, again, it comes down to how much Mizzou's willing to trust him and try that. So the arm is real lively. He's not as dynamic a runner as Pribula is. But I also say that with that being Pribula, the 100% healthy version, we're not really sure if he were to play what he's going to look like with a potentially bad ankle. So if it is Zollers, I'd say a little more downfield throwing is possible, but you're going to live with some of the true freshman-esque missed reads, missed throws, things like that.
Eli, on the other side, the defense, has been spectacular this year for Missouri. You look at them statistically, they're atop the conference in a lot of different categories, and obviously Oklahoma's right there too. But what has it been about this defense that has really excelled this season?
Yeah, it's really been the defensive front. There's been some leakiness on the back end that's gotten better, but still happens from time to time. I think you start with the depth at D end and linebacker in particular. At linebacker, Mizzou's going to start Josiah Trotter, who's probably actually the best pro or future pro on this roster. He comes from his brother's in the NFL with the Eagles. His dad was a longtime linebacker with the Eagles as well. He's one of those linebackers who just one can hit, but also has that uncanny ability to pop up wherever the play is happening. So you'll see him pre-snap and you see him post-snap, and you don't know how he got from A to B, but he's got there and is making the tackle. At D end, Damon Wilson, who's the Georgia transfer, and Zion Young, who Oklahoma fans will remember from last year, have been the duo at D end. Both have been really effective there. This Mizzou team is just not one that anybody has been effectively able to run on all year. They forced a lot of teams to throw. The secondary is a little weaker than the front is, but that front is really, really good.
It's certainly going to be interesting to see how Oklahoma, as they continue to find ways to get down the field. But just on the back end, has it been probably the biggest issue this year for Missouri from a defensive perspective?
Yeah, definitely. It's been the corners aren't the best in man coverage. You'll see Toriano Pride, number 2. He tends to be someone who, when other teams get him one-on-one, they like that look and go after it. And it's a mixed bag with him. Sometimes he's on, sometimes he's off with that. There was a little bit of an issue earlier on with some of the safeties not being particularly disciplined with their eyes, of just getting greedy and coming down when they were supposed to stay up. And some of that, again, it's gotten better, but it's one of those things where if it goes wrong once against a quarterback like John Mateer, like, he's fully capable of punishing Mizzou for that. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's just been a little bit of the man coverage stuff and a little bit of the safety discipline.
Eli, you know this, covering the SEC, and Missouri's played in their fair share of one-score games, but special teams can come up big in a game like this that a lot of people think is going to be close. What has the special teams unit looked like for Missouri this year, whether it's kicking field goals, returning kicks, punts, all of those sorts of things? Well, how good has that unit been this year?
Yeah, not great, to be honest with you. Really across the board on the kicking, the punting, the return units, all of that has been it's been Missouri's weakest phase, even though it's 6 phases, but been Missouri's weakest collection of phases for the last few years now. Some of that is controllable, some of it isn't. Mizzou lost its starting kicker in the first game of the year. He tore his ACL covering a kickoff, so they've got a pair of true freshmen who are the kickers. One does the short yardage stuff, one does the long yardage stuff. That just kind of tells you what it's going to be like.
Sure.
There's Mizzou's more prone to go for it, not a ton of confidence there. The punter who came in this year was the backup at Stanford, which is to say he was at Stanford but not punting there. Has had some nice kicks, had some 20, 30-yard punts as well, so you don't really know what you're going to get there. Hasn't been a huge spark on the return aspect of this. Mizzou against A&M had a couple nice kick returns, but no scores there, not a ton of signs of life. So if this is a game that comes down to special teams, I would not be inclined to say Missouri is winning in that phase, just based on what we've seen last year. Again, it's not super problematic. Like, it hasn't cost this team a win yet, but it certainly hasn't produced a win either.
What is just the general sentiment right now, just from Missouri fans? Obviously, Eli Drinkwich's name has been out there for other jobs. Is that much of a distraction? I know we commented on Tuesday, kind of downplayed everything, and then obviously just kind of having to find the rhythm here as they had the quarterback situation, and then obviously the season kind of took a little bit of a turn.
Yeah, I think the Drinkwitz job stuff is the biggest thing on the mind of Mizzou fans right now, of just whether he's going to stay, whether he's going to go, what the future of this all looks like, with Mizzou having kind of found its footing finally as a program that can win some games. So that's definitely the biggest anxiety. But when it comes to this game in particular, I think Mizzou fans fully recognize how good Oklahoma is, and if they have forgotten, they only need to look at the fact that it's been 59 years since Mizzou won in Norman, and they're reminded of what that dynamic is. Now, maybe that leads to a little bit of a house money element for this, that Mizzou's not playing for playoff contention. Mizzou's just playing to try to ruin this for the Sooners, and maybe that helps a little bit. I think the Mizzou fans have no problem slipping into the villain role there, but they're certainly apprehensive of this Oklahoma defense, and regardless of which quarterback it is back there, of just what that's going to look like, because I don't know how Zollers or Perbila or both are going to have enough time to really make anything happen.
Eli, I did want to ask you, and I feel like we probably asked you this last year, but since then they've now made Oklahoma and Missouri, the annual opponents for the next 4 years, and I would assume beyond that. How do Missouri fans feel about that? Because I think Oklahoma fans feel like this is, a manufactured rivalry, like there's nothing there. But obviously
they always bicker with each other on Twitter,
and they always bicker. And there is, a long history, like you said, 59 years since Missouri's won in Norman. There's a long history there of playing Missouri. So, what is it from the Missouri side of things? Like, how do the fans feel about playing Oklahoma every year?
Yeah, I think it makes sense, and I think a lot of the fans here realize it makes sense to pair these teams up within what the SEC looks like right now. Mizzou fans would probably feel better about it if they keep winning, but they do seem to enjoy the Twitter fights, so kudos to them for getting to keep that around. But this is also a season where Mizzou and Kansas played each other again, so I think everyone here was reminded of what that rivalry is, and that everything else is secondary to it. Yep. As Oklahoma fans have with Red River. So I think everyone's aware that this is a game that maybe means more than your average SEC matchup, but it's not like these are the most hated guys on the other side in a matchup like this.
Certainly contentious with Caden Green. You mentioned him earlier. What kind of season has Caden Green had this year, as well as Chris McClellan, another Oklahoman?
Yeah, it's been weird for Caden Green. So he got preseason All-American honors at left guard, and then about a week and a half before the season started, Mizzou bumped him out to left tackle because they weren't happy with the options they had at left tackle. So that was a little bit of a process getting him used to playing out there again. His it seems like his long-term or his NFL future is at guard, so that's been an adjustment. He's done well. Like, he's, as Oklahoma fans know, he's a good lineman and has been able to adjust to that. He did get hurt earlier on in the season and missed a couple games there, but has come back honestly better, just with more reps there. So it's been a pretty good year for him. With Chris McClellan, he's really taken a big leap from his first year in the program last year to this year. He's been a lot more disruptive up the middle there. D tackle is not a position Mizzou's had a ton of production the last few years, but it feels like with him they finally actually have someone who's causing some havoc there. So he's Damon Wilson, Zion Young are the best defensive linemen, but McClellan has gotten to a point where other teams need to be aware of him.
There's always a lot of talent there. He is Eli Hoff of the St. Louis Dispatch. He sent us to Booches last year. It was unbelievable.
Place was awesome.
Yeah, if you want to bring a couple sliders down, we would probably find room for them here down in Norman. But have a safe trip. Looking forward to the game on Saturday, and we appreciate you joining us, talking about Missouri headed down to Norman on Saturday morning.
For sure. Thanks for having me, y'all.
You bet.
Thanks, Eli.
See ya. Always good to catch up with Eli. Certainly, you would hope if you're an Oklahoma fan, the game gets into a special teams battle, because it certainly seems like Missouri's gone through it. All three phases of the game are going to be exposed on Saturday. You need to continue to play well. But I do think that there is like an unfamiliarity here that I don't know if you necessarily just want to rely on special teams to kind of find a way like they have the last 2 weeks.
No, you don't. As much as we're
uberly confident in Tate Sandell.
Yeah, but at the same time, if he walks out there to win the game on a 50-yarder,
right? Even though he's 7 for 7, I don't know if that's the most comfortable position,
right,
especially with some of the weather, and it is going to probably be a little bit wet on Saturday. Been raining all day on Thursday in Norman. We'll see.
Yeah,
it's kind of one of those.
And also, with Satania's fumble issues and stuff, again, you trust him back there and all of that, but. Certainly, you want to play well on special teams.
This is me on every punt with the camera. Catch the ball, catch the ball, catch the ball, catch the ball. Okay, we're good.
Yes.
That's about how it goes.
Accurate.
No, it's going to be interesting. Let's highlight a couple of individual players, because I think that something that has maybe been lost a little bit, and he's coming off of a weekend in which he recorded a career high sacks. We're talking about Kip Lewis. He was the Bednarik Player of the Week. He has been fantastic for Oklahoma this season.
Yeah, 60 total tackles this year, 8 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks.
Coming up on a career high, I believe, for tackles in a season.
Yes, he had 66 2 years ago, 65 last year. So I feel like he's going to surpass that. Obviously, career high in tackles for loss with 8 and a career high in sacks with 3. So he's been spectacular. And he, especially I feel like the last couple of games, he's just been everywhere. He's been, the heart and soul of that defense in a lot of ways. He's the Energizer Bunny out there. He always brings it. And I think that juice is necessary sometimes. And he's been a guy that, I think has stepped up as a leader and obviously just grown and matured as a player, but he's kind of everything that you want in a player. Like, sure. I think we kind of joke about, certain guys, and if Brent Venables could have 11 of them, I think if he could have 11 Kip Lewises, he'd be very happy.
Undoubtedly one of those guys too that just seems like he's always around the football. Yep. And even going back into last year, he had the pick 6, the Kip 6 down at Auburn. That was obviously a major play in the season.
Alabama.
Last year against Missouri. Alabama, he had one. Against Missouri, he had a really nice day as well.
Yeah.
Certainly been playing extremely well. Possibly will have a decision to make at the end of this season. Hopefully Oklahoma plays for a little bit longer, a little bit more than just 2 or 3 games with a bowl game or a college football playoff appearance. But it will be interesting. I know we talked about that a little bit more in depth on the Unofficial 40 on Tuesday. Brent Venables spoke on Kip Lewis, and here he is.
Yeah, he's been outstanding, and it's infectious. His passion, his energy, his toughness, his love to compete. When stuff isn't going well, that's when he has been at his best. People notice when he's celebrating a great play, but probably his best quality is who he has been when things are tight. And you can't, again, put a value on that, but he's won a lot of matchups. Certainly he won his share a couple of nights ago. We really felt that he would have an opportunity to in some of our interior pressures with the matchups with the running backs, thought that we would have a chance to create a little bit of chaos in the backfield, and that certainly held true. But he's had an outstanding year, and our team does really feed off of, or energized by both his playmaking and just his passion. He's not always like that at practice. It's not like he's a zero by any stretch. And but I'm really proud of the player that he has become, the leader that he's become this year.
You talk about the element of stepping forward in those tight moments. Is that something that's just sort of innate, or is that something you've seen sort of grow in him?
I think that's who he's been. Coming out of high school, he's a 2-time 4A Defensive Player of the Year at Carthage, and I think a 3-time state championship player. I do think there's an instinctive, innate ability to be that, somebody that they're at their best, the bigger the moment. I do think that. I feel that Coach Dreiling has done a good job of helping with his temperament as well. And then he's just grown and matured into, those are things that he's become through going through the fire, and maturing as a football player.
Brent Venables talking about his star linebacker, Kip Lewis. I certainly think that, and I know that we talked about it on the Eskridge Lexus post-game podcast. We put it in the Sights and Sounds as well from Alabama. One of the lasting kind of like memories I'll have of Kip Lewis as a player during one of those timeouts when the entire stadium went dark. He's just out there running around in circles.
It's crazy.
He is.
I don't know where he has that type of energy, especially like late in a game where it's like this has been an all-out brawl. He's played like almost every single snap, and he's out just running with his hair on fire. It's crazy.
A lot of fun to watch. He's had a fantastic year. Other guys talking about defensive members of this Oklahoma team that have stepped up. Obviously, the R. Mason Thomas injury, not at the best time, obviously. At the end of the season, it was a fantastic play, right, on the scoop and score, 71-yarder against Tennessee. But you have Danny Okoye, you have Marvin Jones Jr., who quietly have had Danny, one side of it, breakout season, right? He's starting to come along with PJ Adebore. And then Marvin Jones Jr., somebody that obviously came in with the transfer portal class. He has the pedigree, having played at Georgia and Florida State, of big-time programs, knows what it takes to get there. Both of those guys are coming in off of nice performances against Alabama.
Yeah, and obviously you feel good about Taylor Wine. He's been awesome.
Sure.
But in terms of Marvin Jones Jr. and Danny Okoye, two guys that entering the season we just didn't know a whole lot about. Marvin Jones Jr. starting his career at Georgia, going to Florida State, and he played some good football there, but nothing crazy. He's been really solid for Oklahoma and has provided some really good depth, a lot of experience, a guy that's come up with some big plays and some big moments. And then obviously Danny Okoye, I think the sky's the limit for him. The ceiling is extremely high. A guy that didn't play really at all last year has come in and didn't play early in the season, but now his role has kind of increased with R. Mason being banged up, and also just the way he's playing. So he's only going to get better with every single snap he gets, and you just like the depth of that room, man. Like, you lose R. Mason Thomas, who's one of the best, if not the best pass rusher in college football this year, and it doesn't feel like Oklahoma's taking any drop-off because of guys like a Marvin Jones Jr. as well as Danny Okoye.
We talked to both of those guys. Marvin Jones talking about the defensive end group, his season as a whole in his first year in Norman, and then obviously Danny Okoye and his development when that light came on for him this season. Here's both of them from Monday night.
Just that hard-to-kill mindset, trying to gauge where everybody's at, trying to see how everybody's really bought in, and coming into week 11, it's a lot, and it's physically taxing, but everybody's still locked in on what we got, locked in on our goals and what we have coming up, even after the regular season. Sure. So, we're just trying to keep things small, focus on the next game, and keep dominating, I guess.
We know how big, our main is to this team. Everybody knows that. But we took it upon ourselves, especially the line room, to make sure his presence was replaced, obviously. And I think collectively we play good. We play well together every week. So, I feel like I trust everybody in the room, trust each other. So, I knew we were going to play well as a team, regardless.
Most definitely. I mean, we got depth all across the defense and the offense. I'm not going to lie. Everybody takes the opportunities that show themselves, and we try to make ourselves prepped for anything that could come up in practice. And when those opportunities arise in game, you dominate.
Season's been going well. I mean, I love my teammates. It's been such a fun year so far. Saturday was, another great win, but so many things we got to get better at, especially me. I definitely play my best, so just looking to go forward and beat Mizzou this week.
I guess you could say fall camp was when we really, I guess everybody in the defensive ends room kind of realized that it's going to be on us and the D-line to really set the tone for the defense. We call it the dog pound. D-Stone kind of titled it that, and we've just kind of all bought into being part of the dog pound. And like I said, whatever opportunities arise, like not just me, but even all the other young guys we got in the DN's room and the dudes that we're going to have coming in the winter and in the summer next year, just being ready no matter what, whenever our time is called. And Coach Chavis does a really good job of preparing us for anything that could come up. He's really big on the details, really big on attacking your weaknesses and building on your strengths. And once you're able to come into realizing what your weaknesses are, it makes things a lot easier.
I think it's just the standard that we have. It's not just football, it's in the weight room, it's in the classroom. Like everybody knows, like you have to come correct every week in every part of your life off the field. It's going to translate. So we don't have anybody that's going to slack off or not know the plays. Like everybody needs to know they're ready to go. And as you see, like there are, we replace people get hurt, it's going to happen. But there's a standard, so I think that's why it looks like that.
Let the record show as well. On Monday night before the interview with Danny Okoye, I asked him if he wanted me to take my shirt off to make everything a little bit more comfortable.
That would have been awesome.
He said no. Neither here nor there. Just wanted to have the record expose that. Certainly, talking about these last 8 quarters of the regular season, my God, I can't believe that we're already talking about the end of the season. You're kind of 8 quarters away. And there's certainly, the talk and the fear, I think, amongst an OU fan base that can kind of see the end of the light at the end of the tunnel, can kind of taste the spirit that comes with the college football playoff appearance. You can't have any letdown. You can't have any complacency within the program. We've talked about it here on the program throughout the entirety of the season. There is a sense of maturity, a sense of leadership that this group has that it would be very unexpected.
Yeah, and I think that you look at some of the guys that were on this team a year ago and the disappointment that they experienced and how bad and abysmal last year was for everyone. And I think that they know what an opportunity they have this year to kind of close this thing out on such a high note in terms of getting to the playoff, giving yourself a chance to make a run at a national title. As crazy as that sounds, if you would have said that a year ago this time, you would have been like, you're crazy.
George, if you would have said it 24 days ago, 14 days ago.
And then you add on top the guys that OU's brought in. I mean, whether it's a Marvin Jones Jr., who kind of knows what it looks like as somebody that was at Georgia, or a John Mateer who came here to prove himself. Like, they've gone out and got some really good players, some of the freshmen that have stepped up that wanted to compete at this high level. I don't think there's anybody in that building that's being complacent. I don't think that they're going to be caught off guard by Missouri or LSU these final 2 weeks. I think for them, it just comes down to execution and playing to the level that they believe they can.
Here is Brent Venables, as well as a number of players from Monday night, talking about just that.
Yeah, I don't think our guys will lose respect for winning. Complacency is the opposite of that, and that's not who our guys have been all year. So they have clear vision, for what is at stake and what is required, and the things that have helped us. You win on Saturday, but you really won all week. It takes a whole week to beat somebody, and however you have to do it. Again, football's not a beauty contest, and certainly this league's not. And so, what's it going to take? So our guys have been very committed to a process and committed to doing things a certain way, practicing a certain way, preparing a certain way, and I wouldn't think this week will be any different.
Yeah, very, very good defense. We hold them very high on our list of teams that we got to prepare very well for, and that's every week. We're gonna do all we can to prepare for them. They play hard. They're a very good defense. We're gonna have our work cut out for us.
What's the key to staying even keel after back-to-back road wins like you guys have had?
Yeah, we just revert back to our process and the things that have led us to having success all year. And a win last week isn't going to win for you this week. And you get what you can out of it. You learn from it. You're glad you won. But at the end of the day, you got to break it all back down to the studs and do it all again next week. And that's what we're doing now. We got the corrections. We're moving on to Missouri and ready to go play them.
Yeah, how BB says, the strength of this team is the team, and that's what we try to live by. Whatever, get a chance, opportunity to go out there and represent the name on the front and the back. Go out there and do it to your best ability. Big, I've learned, in high school and just now in college, just learning that, play for that senior that doesn't have another year, that doesn't have another opportunity. Just come back home and play in front of the, the fans again. Play at Bama that one last time. You never know the impactful play that you could have, and the memory that can impact the senior. That it's his last chance. So that's all I'd be thinking about out there and playing for my older guys that don't get another chance to do it.
Just a constant improvement. We try to continue to stack our days. Today was our first day of practice for the week. Trying to just keep perfecting the details. We didn't play perfect on Saturday. We played well, but we played well enough to win. But of course, we have to keep stacking, progressing, and just make sure we have our best shot ready for Mizzou.
Yeah, I mean, you just see it, the way these guys play for each other. And a great example is just Eli Bowen's pick six, and you just see the entire defense just sprint and flood to go get a block. And you see that all throughout the game. Offense, defense, special teams, everybody's just playing for each other. And, we really are a very, very tight brotherhood. It's the closest, most close-knit group of guys that I've been with in the 4 years I've been here. And, maybe it's because of Maloney, you know what I mean? But we just been working on that culture, building that culture. And every single guy in that locker room truly cares about the guy next to him and plays that way. And so it's fun to be on a team like that. A bunch of guys that like to play for each other, for sure.
Yeah, this is what you come here for. Missouri's a really good team. They've been in literally every game that they played other than A&M. And so, it's going to be really exciting, really fun. I think the atmosphere here in Norman is nothing like it. I think we need to get a fourth quarter tradition going. That's what being on the road has taught me. Every place in the fourth quarter is just rocking. So, Norman, Oklahoma is like none other. I know this place is going to be booming this weekend and next Saturday, so we look forward to it.
Any suggestions on the fourth quarter?
Something. I don't know. We need to get something, though. That's what I know.
Miniman?
You have the right suggestion.
I can't take credit. Shane from Twitter brought it to my attention. I think it'd be fantastic.
The odds of that happening, I think, are extremely low.
That's okay. That means that there's still a chance.
That's true. That would be awesome. If that actually happened on Saturday, that would be pretty electric.
Electric, to say the least. They still have a chance, just like Oklahoma has a chance to win a national championship this season. Albeit low, there's still a chance, and you got to take that with you. All right, Oklahoma, Missouri, 11 a.m. We'll be back here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel for an Around the Quarter. Make sure, if you're not a member of SoonerScoop.com, the largest online community for Oklahoma fans, do so. You can do it for just $1 right now, and got a little bit of a crossover season. OU women's basketball team off to a good start. Leah Chavez starting to come along for Jenny Baranchek and crew. Oklahoma men, they welcome Oral Roberts to Lloyd Noble Center on Thursday night. Jadon Jones expected to make his Oklahoma debut.
He's going to unlock
after sitting out a year ago. George really grinded my gears about OU basketball. We're taking notes, people.
They gave up 105 to Nebraska. 105 to Nebraska.
This might be the team, though, for Nebraska that wins their first NCAA tournament game.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay, well, we've been saying that about the football team, and they've been proving it week in and week out. So we'll be back on Friday, kind of set the stage for the weekend. We'll obviously be back on Saturday for an instant reaction, as well as the Eskridge Lexus post-game podcast. Signing day coming up, too. Make sure you're watching the recruiting report with Josh McCuistion. OU with a commitment at the beginning of the week, and plenty more to come as they try to close the book on 2026. So for George Stoya, I'm Eddie Radosevich. We'll see you back here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.